here was the man, Sam Raimi. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
How are things?
Good, sir.
Do you, you making number one, I know there was some sort of anxiety when you made number two. Making Spider-Man 3, do you kind of, in your head, approach it the same way, or is it easier?
No, it's no easier. I'm terrified. I'm a very insecure person, and making more of these pictures doesn't make me feel any more secure. Just new problems. But I did feel more comfortable in the sense that I knew the character very well. You know, I knew who Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker was and what he wanted now. And I think if a director knows what a character is, who he is, and what he wants, it's a very doable task to direct that picture.
But when you get to part 3, does it allow you then to leave the source material? Because you have to take care of the purists in a sense in number 1. Number 2, you had a little bit more of that. But in this, it didn't seem like you were doing the Spider-Man that I read as a kid. It was this character that people learned from in number 1 and number 2. It was just a different kind of story.
That's true. We had already set up a storyline that was deviating slightly from the comic books by the end of the second picture. And now we had an obligation, not just to the fans of the comic book, but to the fans of the movie, to complete those stories. We had set up some tension between the character of Peter Parker and James Franco's character, and we had to properly resolve that. And that was a situation that was not exactly the same in the comic book. So the movie placed its demands upon us to answer these questions in the third one.
Well, I wonder if there comes an added pressure dealing with a character that is so, pervasive. People know this character. They know both of them, Spider-Man and Peter.
There absolutely is a responsibility, I think, when you make a much-beloved comic book into a movie, or a novel into a movie, to try and take what it is that you think makes it unique and try and translate that to the screen without changing it too much for the sake of making it your own or just for the sake of change. You really want to give the audience this character that they've followed for 40, 45 years. Now generations have followed him. And more than a character, he's a superhero, so he's a hero to a lot of kids. And so he means a lot more than just any literary character. He's a role model and somebody that kids look up to. So you also have a responsibility to provide a responsible individual on screen that's worthy of this admiration.
Were you more confident with it on the set of Spider-Man 3 than you were on Spider-Man 1?
I was a little more confident in working with the actor, for instance, in feeling like I really knew the character and what he wanted. Because Tobey and I had been able to build up a relationship in the first picture and then a friendship in the second picture, we got to know each other to such a great degree that when we worked toward the essence of a moment, you're always trying to find something that's truthful in a line or in a look, something that's real. Because if you can find that, the audience suddenly will connect and they'll think, I know how he feels. Or they won't even have a conscious thought. They'll be with the character in that moment, and that's when you're succeeding. And you fail more than you succeed, but you try and find those moments all the time. So when you have a very close relationship with someone, you can talk about intimate things about why that isn't true or what you'd really feel in those situations. And these are intimate discussions that are more awkward and difficult to have with someone you don't really know.
Are you the kind of guy that when you step outside of your comfort zone, how do you handle that stuff? Are you when you do that?
Oh, I'm always outside my comfort zone, but these people help me make it a more familiar terrain with me. The toughest thing, I think, for me is when working with new characters is just discovering and learning who they are. That's the most frightening thing as a director. Because until you completely understand the character, you're out of your comfort zone. So it's not so much the people that make me comfortable, it's the moment that I can tune in and say I understand who that person is. Because then I know how to direct them.
Is there, as a director, is there another pressure that exists going, I have a huge franchise here, that there are real, and studios really depend on these films?
I know that the people at the studio feel that, and I have had those feelings, but I don't know what to do with them. And I feel belittled and terrified and when I think about that. And so even though I should be thinking about it more, I can't bear to think about it. So I just focus on the characters. And I hope if I can do that, the rest hopefully will take care of itself.
Do you have those 3 o'clock in the morning moments when you're just sitting there thinking, oh, for the love of God?
All the time. Yeah. That's all I do is lay awake in bed and think about how I screwed up and why this picture won't be any good and how they're going to hate it and why I made a terrible choice today on the set and what I should have said. And that's how I spend my should be sleeping, but waking hour.
Are you done with the series now at 3?
I don't know, because first of all, my head is still ringing. My ears are ringing from just getting out of the mix last week. Mm-hmm. And I'm still finishing up this picture as far as the DVD, the timing, and the formatting. But once that's all over, I think I'd like to step back and look at the character and say, do I really have something to contribute to this now? Do I think I can make it great? Because if I don't think that, I shouldn't get anywhere near the project. And does the character really have somewhere to grow to? Here's a legend that people have loved for generations, 45 years, and different writers and artists had told the story of Spider-Man, and now that Olympic torch was being handed to me, and I was the honored one for a brief time to tell some Spider-Man stories, and then I will be handing it to another storyteller soon enough.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.